Before the drama unfolds, drop a comment down below and tell me your location. Whether you're relaxing in sunny Florida, braving the cold in Alaska, or watching from a cozy apartment in Boston, it blows my mind how far these stories of neighborhood chaos and karma can go. The late afternoon sun spilled molten light across the quiet suburb, the kind of golden hour glow that made everything appear softer, warmer, except for the sight that had my blood boiling yet again. There it was, a glossy black Tesla Model X, sprawled across my driveway like it owned the place. I slowed to a stop, groceries digging into my palms, and stared at it with a kind of simmering disbelief that borders on rage. This wasn't the first time. It wasn't even the fifth. It was just another day in a long string of entitled offenses committed by the two women I had come to dread more than any HOA letter or property tax bill. Ava and Julie, the Karen sisters of the neighborhood. I let out a bitter laugh under my breath. Perfect. Just perfect. My car sat caged inside the garage, invisible but trapped, while theirs gleamed under the fading light like a trophy, blocking me from my own home. My jaw tightened as I kicked at a pebble on the driveway and muttered, "Not again." From somewhere down the street, faint laughter echoed, familiar, shrill, mocking. I didn't have to turn my head to know who it was. Ava and Julie were near, and sure enough, their voices carried like nails scraping glass. Two figures emerged, walking with a swagger that didn't belong in this peaceful neighborhood. Ava was on the left, wearing a deep green blouse cut just low enough to scream for attention, paired with fitted black pants that strained against her curves. Her brown curls bounced on her shoulders as she tossed her head back in laughter. Beside her, Julie was nearly identical in shape and arrogance, though she had chosen a maroon blouse that mirrored Ava's design. They looked like a duo straight out of a bad reality show, the kind who thrived on drama and chaos. "Problem, neighbor?" Ava's voice was sugary, dripping with mock concern, when she noticed me glaring at the Tesla. I shifted the groceries in my arms and locked eyes with her. "Yeah. My problem is your car parked across my driveway. Again." Julie rolled her eyes, so hard I thought they'd get stuck. She let out an exaggerated sigh and leaned toward her sister. "Here we go again. Mr. Uptight and his driveway obsession." Ava smirked, her hand on her hip, the green fabric straining with the motion. "Relax, it's just a driveway. Don't be so uptight. You're not even going anywhere right now." I clenched my teeth and set the bags down, the paper crinkling sharply against the pavement. "It's not about right now. It's about every time. Every time I need to leave, every time I come back, there's your car in the way. This isn't your private parking spot." Julie crossed her arms, her maroon blouse catching the last rays of sun. "What's the big deal? You don't even use the garage half the time. I've seen it. Dusty, cluttered. Who cares?" My blood pressure spiked. I care. Because it's my house. My driveway. My property. That means it's not yours. For a moment, silence hung heavy between us. Ava and Julie glanced at each other, smirks passing back and forth like secret jokes. Finally, Ava shrugged with casual dismissal. "Well, I don't have the keys on me right now. I left them inside. So guess it'll have to stay there." And with that, they turned away, walking down the sidewalk as if I were invisible, their laughter trailing like an aftertaste of poison. I stood frozen, fists balled at my sides, rage pounding in my temples. I imagined kicking the Tesla until its glossy paint cracked, or calling a tow truck right then and there. But instead, I swallowed it down. It wasn't that I hadn't tried reasoning with them before. I had. Dozens of times. I had tried polite conversations, neighborly requests, even leaving notes under their windshield wipers with neat handwriting that begged them to respect boundaries. Every effort had been ignored, mocked, or met with smug defiance. They thrived on this, feeding off the irritation of everyone around them like it was oxygen. The Tesla wasn't just a car to Ava, it was a weapon, a shiny black status symbol gifted to her by her latest wealthy boyfriend. Rumors swirled about both sisters, how they cycled through men with bank accounts larger than their own ambitions, collecting gifts like magpies hoarding shiny trinkets. Ava's Tesla was her crown jewel, proof that she had successfully drained another man dry enough to flaunt his generosity on 4 wheels. And Julie? She didn't have her own Tesla, but she played backup, riding shotgun, mocking anyone who dared to question their entitlement. I gathered my groceries, carried them inside with sharp, angry steps, and slammed the door harder than I meant to. My kitchen filled with the scent of ripe tomatoes and bread as I unpacked, but none of it dulled the gnawing anger inside me. I pressed my palms flat against the counter, staring out the window toward the driveway where the Tesla loomed, and I made myself a promise. Enough. Enough of the excuses, the smug laughter, the endless game of cat and mouse in my own home. Later that evening, when the light had dipped into twilight and shadows stretched across the yard, I sat on my porch with a beer in hand, watching the Tesla still glimmer under the streetlight. Across the street, a couple of neighbors strolled by, shaking their heads at the sight. One of them muttered loud enough for me to hear, "Those sisters think the world belongs to them." I didn't answer, but I didn't need to. The truth was clear, etched into every sneer and smirk those women had ever thrown my way. As the night deepened, their voices echoed again, shrieks of laughter as they returned, perfume wafting like heavy smoke in the humid air. They barely glanced at me as they strutted past, Ava tossing her curls, Julie whispering something that made them both howl. I watched them disappear into their house, and a cold clarity settled over me. They had no intention of changing. Not tomorrow, not next week, not ever. If anything, they enjoyed pushing me, daring me to react, certain that I'd back down like everyone else had before. But I wasn't everyone else. As the door shut behind them and the neighborhood quieted once more, I leaned back in my chair, beer bottle cold against my palm, and let the silence sharpen into resolve. They thought they had me cornered, powerless in my own driveway. They thought this was just another game where they held all the pieces. But they were wrong. Very wrong. And by the time they realized it, their precious Tesla wouldn't be gleaming in my driveway anymore. Not at all. The following morning, I found the Tesla still sitting smugly across my driveway, its sleek body catching the first rays of sunlight as if mocking me. I stood with a cup of coffee in hand, steam rising into the cool air, and stared at it. My pulse ticked faster with every sip. They hadn't even bothered to move it overnight. It was clear now, this wasn't laziness. It was deliberate. Ava and Julie enjoyed leaving their glossy prize there, enjoyed knowing I'd wake up every day with a view of their arrogance blocking my path. I placed the mug down on the porch rail and pulled out my phone. Enough pleading, enough neighborly tolerance. I typed a sharp message and left it on their windshield. Move your car. Last warning. When I returned that afternoon, the note was gone, but the Tesla was still there, and taped to my own front door, written in looping handwriting that screamed mockery, was another note. Thanks for the paper, neighbor. Don't waste ink next time. I crumpled it in my fist, jaw locking until it hurt. That night, I heard the shrill ring of Ava's laugh outside, followed by the click of her heels against the pavement. I peeked through the blinds. She leaned casually against the Tesla, snapping selfies, the green blouse glinting under the streetlight. Julie hovered beside her, holding a phone up, capturing angles like she was photographing royalty. The next morning, I stumbled across the post on Instagram. Ava posing by the Tesla in my driveway with a caption that read, "Front row parking, perks of being fabulous." Hundreds of likes, emojis showering praise. Julie had commented beneath it, who needs a garage anyway? Followed by a string of laughing faces. My blood boiled as I read it, thumb hovering over the report button, but I stopped. Deleting their smugness wasn't enough. I needed something sharper. The next few days were a blur of small humiliations. I was late to work one morning when I found the Tesla boxed in again and had to order an expensive ride just to make an important meeting. Another evening, I returned from the grocery store to find the sisters sprawled across the hood of the car, sipping iced coffees and chatting loudly, ignoring me entirely as I stood there with bags weighing down my arms. Their perfume clouded the air, thick and artificial, as they finally slid off the hood and strutted inside, laughing. It was then I realized I couldn't keep dancing to their tune. Confrontation didn't faze them. Embarrassment didn't touch them. They thrived on resistance. The only way to stop them was to change the game entirely. I began gathering evidence. The next time their car sat planted across my driveway, I filmed it, timestamp visible, my garage door unable to open. The chain of proof grew. Photos, videos, even audio snippets of their dismissive laughter. One clip caught Ava saying, "He's not gonna do anything. He's all bark." Another had Julie chuckling, "Even if he calls someone, no one would dare tow a Tesla. Please." That arrogance became the fuel I needed. I shared one short clip on the neighborhood group page with a simple caption. "Anyone else dealing with these sisters blocking property?" The video spread like a spark to dry leaves. Comments poured in. Neighbors chimed in about Ava and Julie's history, borrowing items and never returning them, cutting in line at the grocery store, blasting music late into the night. The resentment had been there all along, simmering. I had only lit the match. The sisters must have seen the post because the very next morning, Ava strutted across the lawn, green blouse vivid under the morning light, and snapped, "You think posting videos will scare us? Cute." Julie snickered beside her. "If anything, you're just giving us more followers." They laughed, linking arms as if their bond made them untouchable. But I wasn't laughing. That night, I combed through local ordinances and property laws, my laptop glowing in the dark. Line after line confirmed what I had already suspected. If a vehicle blocks private property, the owner has the right to call a tow company. No special exemptions. No excuses. Tesla or not, the law was on my side. The following weekend, the moment arrived. I had been waiting, patient, biding my time. Ava and Julie returned from a shopping spree, arms laden with glossy bags. And without hesitation, Ava steered the Tesla directly across my driveway once more. They slammed the doors, adjusted their low-cut blouses, and walked off toward a friend's house, their perfume trailing behind them. I stepped onto the porch, my phone already in hand. "Move it now, or it won't be here when you get back," I called out, voice steady, loud enough for them to hear. They froze, turned, and stared. Ava tilted her head, curls bouncing, and smiled with cruel amusement. "You wouldn't dare touch this car. Do you even know how much it costs?" She spread her arms theatrically. "My boyfriend gave it to me. You couldn't afford to scratch the paint." Julie laughed, loud and derisive. "Yeah, dream on. No one's gonna tow a Tesla, honey. Do you have any idea what would happen to you if you tried?" I held their gaze for a long moment, then raised my phone, thumb hovering over the call button. "We'll see about that." The color drained slightly from Ava's face, but her smirk remained, brittle now, clinging to bravado. Julie muttered something under her breath as they turned and stalked off, but I was already dialing. Within 30 minutes, a deep rumble filled the street. A massive yellow tow truck rolled into view, its engine growling like a predator on the hunt. The driver stepped out, steel-toed boots hitting the pavement, and eyed the Tesla with professional detachment. "Private property obstruction?" he asked. I nodded, showing him the photos and video evidence. That was all he needed. The clatter of chains filled the air as he hooked the Tesla, the metallic scrape echoing against the quiet houses. By the time the front wheels lifted off the ground, Ava and Julie came sprinting back, their shopping bags abandoned on the sidewalk. Ava's arms flailed wildly, green blouse pulling tight as she shrieked, "You can't do this. That's my car." Julie screamed alongside her, face twisted in fury, maroon blouse darkened with sweat under the sun. Their voices cracked as they pleaded, threatened, cursed. But the driver didn't flinch. He tightened the chains, raised the Tesla higher, and secured it. Neighbors began to gather, phones held aloft, recording every second. The sisters spun in circles, yelling at the crowd to stop filming, but no one listened. Ava's screams reached a fever pitch, her arms slicing through the air in dramatic arcs, while Julie's voice grew hoarse from shouting. Pure rage etched across her features. The Tesla, gleaming and helpless, rose inch by inch until it rested securely on the tow bed. The driver wiped his hands, gave me a nod, and climbed back into the truck. The engine roared to life, drowning out the sisters' protests. Slowly, inexorably, the vehicle rolled forward, carrying the Tesla away. Ava's cries cracked into sobs, Julie's face burned crimson, and the crowd murmured with a mixture of amusement and awe. I stood there silent, watching as the black car disappeared down the street, swallowed by the horizon. For the first time in weeks, my driveway was empty. My property was mine again. But as satisfying as it was, I knew this wasn't the end. Their shrieks weren't just about losing the car, they were about losing control. And people like Ava and Julie didn't surrender easily. Before I dive into what happened next with the Tesla fiasco, I've got to mention one of my wildest stories ever. Karen's sisters kept running over my driveway lights, so I replaced them with industrial-grade ones. It's honestly one of my favorites, and I've linked it in the description and added it to the end screen. Trust me, you'll want to check that out after this, because the payoff in that one was brutal. The sisters' screams still rang in my ears long after the tow truck's rumble faded into silence. Neighbors lingered in small clusters on the sidewalk, phones buzzing with freshly uploaded videos, laughter rippling through the crowd like a breeze stirring leaves. Ava stood frozen in the street, her green blouse crumpled, her curls wild from all the flailing, tears smudging her mascara. Julie paced back and forth, her maroon blouse sticking to her back, her voice hoarse from shouting threats no one cared to hear. I leaned against the porch rail, arms folded, a calm smile tugging at my lips. For the first time, they looked small. Their arrogance had been dragged away with the Tesla, and all that remained were two furious women stripped of their power. By morning, the neighborhood group chat had exploded. Clips of the tow circulated faster than wildfire, accompanied by memes, jokes, and cheers. Someone posted a still image of Ava mid-scream with the caption, "When you realize karma doesn't accept refunds." Another turned Julie's enraged face into a looping gif. The humiliation spread beyond the block, creeping into other local pages until the sisters' tantrum became the day's entertainment. But the internet has a way of digging deeper than intended. Beneath the surface-level mockery, people started sharing stories. A neighbor uploaded screenshots of Ava bragging in private messages about how her boyfriend had rewarded her with a Tesla for keeping him hooked. Another revealed Julie had been juggling more than one man, teasing them with promises she never intended to keep. The receipts stacked up like bricks, each one exposing more of their carefully constructed facade. I hadn't planned to take it further, but once the information landed in my inbox, it was impossible to ignore. I collected the screenshots, stitched them into a tidy thread, and posted them with a simple caption. Parking in someone else's driveway is one thing, but parking your morals somewhere even cheaper? That's another story. The post went viral overnight. By the next day, Ava's boyfriend, the wealthy one who had gifted her the Tesla, was tagged in dozens of comments. He didn't respond publicly, but he didn't need to. 2 days later, the Tesla was gone for good, repossessed under his name. Word spread quickly that he had broken up with Ava, demanding not only the car, but also the return of every luxury gift he'd ever lavished on her: jewelry, handbags, vacations. The legal filings hit faster than she could blink. She had built her life around the illusion of being untouchable, and now it was crumbling with paperwork and signatures. Julie didn't fare better. Her boyfriend vanished without explanation, leaving her frantic texts unanswered. Screenshots of her late-night flirting with multiple men surfaced, eroding whatever loyalty he might have had left. Within a week, both sisters found themselves abandoned, their source of status and wealth stripped clean. I watched the downfall unfold from my porch, the same spot where I had once clenched my fists in frustration. Now, the silence of my driveway felt almost sacred. No gleaming Tesla blocking my path, no mocking laughter drifting through the night air. Just quiet, just peace. But peace wasn't what the sisters felt. They turned up at my door one humid evening, eyes wild, makeup smeared, desperation written across their faces. Ava's voice cracked as she shouted, "You ruined everything. You think this is funny." Julie jabbed a finger toward me, spitting venom with every word. "You destroyed our lives. We'll never forgive you for this." I stepped outside, meeting their fury with steady calm. Neighbors peeked from windows, curious but cautious. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. "I didn't ruin your lives," I said evenly. "You did. All I did was stop you from ruining mine." The words hit harder than any shout could have. Ava faltered, her hands trembling at her sides. Julie tried to bluster, but her voice wavered. They had spent years weaponizing arrogance, but without their car, their men, Their shiny props, they had nothing left to lean on. Just their anger, raw and pitiful. And then, as if the universe decided to punctuate the moment, another tow truck rolled slowly down the street. This time it was there for a different car parked illegally near the corner. But the symbolism wasn't lost on anyone watching. The sisters turned instinctively, panic flashing across their faces, as the vehicle was hauled away. A ripple of laughter spread through the neighbors, quiet but undeniable. The irony was too perfect, and the sisters couldn't escape it. They stormed off into the night, muttering curses, but their threats carried no weight anymore. Their power was gone, shredded by their own arrogance and greed. I returned to my porch, sitting back in my chair, a wave of satisfaction washing over me. The days that followed cemented their downfall. Ava was dragged into court, her ex-boyfriend relentless in reclaiming every penny he had wasted. Julie drifted through the neighborhood like a ghost, her once booming voice replaced by muttered complaints. Their social media presence evaporated, accounts deleted or abandoned. The queens of entitlement had been dethroned, their empire reduced to whispers and ridicule. As for me, I relished the quiet mornings when I could back my car out without obstruction, when I could sip coffee without staring at someone else's trophy parked where it didn't belong. I had my driveway back, but more importantly, I had shown them, and everyone else watching, that arrogance doesn't go unchecked forever. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in gold, I stood at the end of the driveway, hands resting in my pockets, and reflected on the chaos that had unfolded. The funny thing about people like Ava and Julie is that they believe the world owes them everything. They mistake other people's silence for weakness, other people's tolerance for submission. But what they never understand, what they can never prepare for, is the moment someone decides they've had enough. That moment had come for them, and it had come hard. I glanced at the quiet street, the air filled only with the soft rustle of leaves. My phone buzzed with a new comment on the viral video, someone writing, "Justice served with extra cheese." I chuckled, shaking my head, and turned back toward the house. For once, the story didn't end with me losing. For once, the so-called queens of entitlement were left with nothing but their own wreckage to sit in. And I knew, deep down, that they would think twice before ever blocking another driveway again. So what do you think? I said, my voice low, but carrying into the evening air as if speaking to every neighbor, every viewer who had followed the story. Did karma hit them hard enough, or do you think they still got off easy? Let me know in the comments. I paused, a small smile tugging at the corner of my mouth. And don't forget, subscribe if you want more stories where arrogance meets its payback. Because sooner or later, the bill always comes due.